Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Ray's Rides. And a lot of you have been blowing up my inbox. You guys want some cars that are just the baddest, most modified from the factory, something that is just so visceral that it's going to separate it from the rest of the pack. Well, guess what? I'm here at Walker Ford. Walker Ford has once again stepped up to the plate to bring to you guys the ultimate in the Shelby GT350. Not only the ultimate Mustang, but the ultimate Shelby GT350, the 350R. So if you don't know anything about Shelby, let me give you a little bit of background. Carroll Shelby, for decades, okay, for decades has all been about performance. Now, if you're not aware, he actually was a race car driver first. He raced for Aston Martin and actually won a lot of races, including the 24 Hours of Le Mans. He found out that he had a bad, weak heart, and the doctors told him he needed to stop racing. So he stopped racing. He went back to his chicken farms, and then eventually he got the call from Ford to build that Ford Cobra. Eventually, it would spill into other programs like the Shelby Mustangs, the GT350 Mustangs, where he took a regular standard Mustang and turned it into something totally different. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, Carroll Shelby has not been around with us since 2012. He unfortunately passed away, but I promise you that he is smiling down upon us because what Ford is putting in their showrooms, like the one here at Walker Ford, is an animal that Carroll Shelby would definitely put his stamp of approval on and be proud to have his name. So anyway, speaking about his name, let's go ahead and start at the front of this car. If you look at the front of this GT350R, I'm going to show you two different ways that you could automatically tell that this is a 350R. The reason why is that this car is not about, hey, look at me, I'm in a 350R, I'm, driving this bad thing. You really got to look for the specifics. So front end wise, this is going to be your standard GT350. A GT350 and the 350R, they're actually wider. The front end of the car is wider than your standard Mustang GT. Now, if you want to see some of the things that separate this from the R, let's start down here. There's that name, Shelby. This front lip splitter is actually larger on the 350R than it is on the standard 350. What that's going to do is that's going to provide more downforce on the front nose of this car. And remember, this car being an R is all about being race ready. This car is the most track focused product besides the Ford GT that Ford is pumping out of its factories. Here's the other one of the important crucial things is this emblem right here. There's the Shelby Cobra with the GT350. The R is in this red color. So if you see red in that corner of the grill, that's going to tell you that this is an R. Other than that, like I said, standard GT350 affair, but when I say standard, a GT350 is not standard. You have the enlarged nose area that's going to help bring air into the front of this car. This car, believe it or not, was designed in a wind tunnel. They took it, they put it in a wind tunnel to maximize airflow because it's not just about, maximizing the air for downforce and for flow, but it's also for aerodynamics. So this whole open grill area is not only specific to help bring air into that engine compartment, but we're also going to channel air around the car. And I'm going to show you that in a second. If Tom, my camera guy, could show you, what I really like about the GT350R is I really love this heat extractor. And I like the way the body lines feed into the hood from the front of the car. This heat extractor is functional. And I'm going to show you, once we pop the hood of this beast, that Voodoo engine, that 526 horsepower flat plane crank V8. We're talking about redline 8,250 RPM underneath that hood. But this is functional to help get that hot air from outside from underneath the hood. Let's check out the side here. This is another GT350R specific. These wheels are carbon fiber. Believe it or not, it wasn't McLaren, it wasn't Ferrari, it wasn't Porsche, it wasn't any of those manufacturers that build supercars to be the first to put a carbon fiber wheel production on a model. It was Ford with the GT350R. Now, if you're wondering how come you don't see the carbon fiber weave, these are carbon fiber and then they're painted in this beautiful gloss black. Like I said, these wheels are specific to the 350R. And if you saw a GT350 next to it, it's a totally different design. So it's not just, oh, these are carbon fiber and the other ones are not. It's a totally different design. Check out the rotors. I had a question in the GT350 video, that orange one I did, about what do I mean by aluminum hats? I'm going to go ahead and have Tom zoom in for you. So this part right here, the rotor, is called the hat. These are actually aluminum. On a standard brake rotor, they're steel. That's heavier. What we're trying to do is we're trying to lower the not only the total amount of weight of the car, but that rotating mass. So we're getting a very light wheel because it's carbon fiber. And don't worry, the carbon fiber is not going to crack. It's very strong. But then on top of that, we have these aluminum hats, which is going to reduce that rotating mass. That's why this thing is a missile. When you steer it, it's a steerable missile with those additions. Also, the brake rotors are cross-drilled and fully ventilated. That's going to get that heat. It's going to dissipate that heat. So when you're doing your track day, you're going to get awesome pedal feel every single time. And then to top it off, check out that huge Brembo caliper there. I really like the gloss black with the bright red caliper right there. And Brembo, that's a name that you're going to see in racing all for decades and decades and decades. Let's take a look at this fender. Now, this fender, like I said, is GT350 specific. So it's wider. One of the reasons why it's wider is right here, this aerodynamic uh, aid right here. So what's happening, like we talked about at the front of the car, air is coming in, air is going to go out the side and all the way down the side of the car. This is GT350 specific. Also, this lower sill panel, this is an addition to help channel airflow because like I said, it's all about directing air to make the car stable. It's one thing to have, 800 horsepower, 900 horsepower out of an engine, but if the car is not stable through the air, it's going to be a handful at a track. This thing is all about making you feel comfortable when you're turning those fast lap times, and that's the work that the engineers did. I like the way they put the GT350 emblem up here. If I was to say, hey, Ford, Joe Raiti here from Raiti's Rides, there's something I would like to add. One thing I would like to see as an option would be a stripe that could be down the side that says GT350. That would remind me of my father's 1969 Shelby GT350 if that was something that was an option if you wanted to break up the black, because this is black on black, which here at Walker Ford looks sinister. But if you want a little splash of white down here, I think it actually would really do the car some justice and really pop it out amongst the black. But that's just something that's just my taste. Let's go ahead and go to the back of the car here. Out back, we have huge, these are 315. So this car is running the ultra sticky. If I take my finger, it's like it sticks right into this tire. These really sticky Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires. These tires are track specific. This is not something that you're going to want to drive and think you're going to get 30,000 miles out of them. These things are super sticky. They're going to give you nice grip and feedback behind the steering wheel of the car. These are 315. So that's how wide the tire is. Up front, they're 305s. So we're running some really super wide wheels on this car to put the rubber on them to give you that ultimate traction. But that's another nicety that you're going to get with the 350R are these Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires. Michelin makes a great product, and their Cup 2 tires are second to none. Let's check out the back because there's some surprises back here. This is one of the things that just tops it off, this rear spoiler. This is actually another carbon fiber piece. Remember, we're trying to make the car lighter. They did paint it over in the same gloss black, and it doesn't matter whether you get a orange GT350R, a red one, a white one. The rear wing is always going to be painted black, but this is something that is specific to the GT350R. I love the style of it. Obviously, it's fully functional, and it just really adds to the performance look of the car. Then if we pan our way down here, this car is going to have that wonderful adaptive exhaust, so you could actually change the note of the car. And when you're leaving early in the morning, maybe to go do your track day, you're not going to piss off all your neighbors with a loud exhaust. You could have it in quiet mode, and then once you get out of the neighborhood, you could open her up, and I'm telling you, the sound of that Voodoo engine, you'll hear it in this video, is mind-blowing. Here's that emblem again. Remember, we had one at the start of the business. Now we got one at the tail end here. That's your GT350R specific. So if this was not an R, this wouldn't be red here. That's another way to tell. And then one thing I absolutely love about the rear ends of not only the Mustang, but definitely this car is I love the taillight configuration. It's that traditional tri-bar setup. I really love on the GT350 and the 350R, the lower diffuser down here. This thing is fully functional, and it just adds to the presence of this car. Because I'm telling you, here at Walker Ford, you walk in the front door, this car just has a presence to it that is second to none. But anyways, the outside is amazing. Let's go check out that 5.4 liter Voodoo engine underneath the hood. Let's go check it out. All right, guys, here's the heart of this animal. It's a 5.2 liter 526 horsepower V8. It's been given the code name Voodoo. The reason why is that the internals of this engine, specifically the crankshaft, are totally different than anything that Ford has produced before this car. I don't even care if you're even talking about the Ford GT. This thing has some trickery from the engineers at Ford that allows this V8, this 5.2 liter V8, to redline at 8,250 RPM. Yes, you heard me correct. 8,250 RPM. This thing screams, and I'm telling you, the sound is just intoxicating. Now, one of the great things is that if you look at a dyno sheet of this car, the torque curve, it doesn't taper off at 5,000 RPM. It doesn't taper off at 7,000 RPM. It goes all the way to that red line. And that's important because a lot of cars out there, they say, hey, the red line is 7,000 or 8,000 or whatever number we're talking about. A lot of times the engine starts to lose some gas. It starts to lose some speed as it gets higher in that RPM range. This thing keeps pulling all day long to that red line. I really, really like the way this engine is just minimalistic. Not a bunch of plastic covers all over it. It has this wonderful intake up here, this intake plenum. You could see the individual runners. I love this huge silver strut tower brace here. What this does is that it bolts into each tower of the shocks. And what it's going to do is it's going to stiffen up that front end of the car so that when you go do that track day, you're going to have that steering like it's almost like telepathic. If you notice too, Ford put an open air box straight from the factory on it. These are things that show, hey, this is high performance. I don't know if Tom can swing around here. Another thing I love that a lot of manufacturers are doing with special cars like this one, check it out. It's got an emblem here where you could actually see the engraved signature of the man that hand built this motor. Those are the touches that when somebody comes looking for a car like this that they want to see because it's a special car. It needs to have those special touches. Another thing, if you notice here, is that it tells you that this is carbon fiber composite. So a lot of this front end here is actually carbon fiber composite because remember, we're trying to lower the weight of the car, especially what's hanging off the front end of the car. That's one of the handling issues with a big V8 front engine car is that to get that 50-50 balance, it's a little tricky. But the engineers at Ford have come up with some great ways to lessen some of the weight off. Another thing that you'll notice is that this engine is nice and back in the frame to help even out that distribution of the weight. One other awesome thing about this GT350 and the 350R is that it comes with that magnetic ride suspension. So that's that adaptive suspension. And what's really neat is you got different settings you could do. This thing, the information that it gives you, it really is for the enthusiast because it'll tell you what your diff temperature is. It'll tell you the temperature, the air fuel ratio. It tells you all this information. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of extra gauges and whatnot. That's the types of things that I like to see because I'm an enthusiast and this car is really intended for the ultimate enthusiast. But anyways, here's the Voodoo engine. Let's go ahead and see what the heck did Ford do different inside the car separate from a GT or a GT350. Let's go check it out. All right, guys, here's something that is one of the reasons why I love doing this YouTube channel. I never thought in a million years I'd be sitting in a brand new 2018 Shelby GT350R, and I'm just very grateful for this opportunity. But anyways, I'll stop getting emotional here. Check out the door panels. They have beautiful Alcantara. I love the red stitching. Remember the GT350R, it's all about that red racing. They bring it in. Now, one thing you should be aware of, if you're expecting a bunch of niceties in this car, when it comes to the interior, that's what this car is not about. Now, when the car comes from the factory, it comes with nothing in it. No back seat, no stereo, no navigation, no AC, no heated seats, none of that. But that's what this is about. This is the ultimate track weapon if that's something that you want. Check out these Recaro racing seats. I am in total love of these seats. I love the style of them. I love the bolstering. It's got the perfect amount. It's all Alcantara, which is really nice. You got the red stitching, the Recaro. Look at the back headrest. I love the R. While we're back here, check out the back seat. Oh, that's right. There is no back seat. This car, the GT350R, comes from the factory with no back seat. You can have it option back in, but listen, you don't want to do that because this is about getting that weight down to the bare minimum. Even in the trunk, you open up the back trunk from the factory, it comes with no liner or anything. We're trying to save the weight. If I could have Tom come on in, I'm going to show you some of these other goodies we got going on in here. If you look around the interior of the car, you'll notice a lot of black and you'll say, wow, I'm not too impressed by that. Guess what? The engineers did it on purpose. The reason why they went with a flat black on the whole interior is to prevent glare when you're doing the track days. That's why I love this car, because there's engineers that have gone to the track. There's engineers that have done all this stuff that are bringing it into the car. I've always liked on the new Mustangs how they have the dual cowl dash. Here's another way that tells you that this is a GT350R. It's actually the only place on the car where it literally says GT350R. Other than that, you have to look for those specifics that I pointed out to you. It tells you the chassis number. As you can see, you have the R badge here. No radio, no navigation. Yeah, we have the controls here, but they're not going to be doing much for you because this car is bare bones. Here it is, that beautiful 6-speed transmission. I love the way that it's got the red trim around it with the red numbers and the gates showing you. It really is a very short throw shift. It's not something you're going to have to put a short throw shifter kit on. Very crisp, very precise. I am in love with this transmission. I couldn't even imagine what this would be like going around Sebring, going around Homestead, or over at Moroso, or even Laguna Seca. If you're over in California, you lucky person, you. This gearbox is just a hot knife through butter. You can see here you got your cup holders, but you're not. What are you going to be putting there? You're not going to be putting any drinks or your super Slurpee. Here's the business end right in front of you. You have this beautiful Alcantara leather wrap steering wheel with the red cross stitching. I don't know if Tom could show you all that beautiful cross stitch there. You have the wonderful Cobra emblem. That's telling you, listen, you're in a special car here. You have this nice little leather red band. If you don't know what that's all about, when you're doing a track day, that'll also always tell you where top dead center is on the steering wheel, depending on what type of track you're off on, or maybe if you spin off the track, that'll help you get back to top dead center. Other than that, you have your standard run-of-the-mill GT gauges. If Tom could go ahead and show you those gauges, you could see you got a very nice large tachometer. Check out the tachometer there. Like I said, 8,250 RPM. Wonderful, wonderful setup. You got different driving modes you could put to adjust the stiffness of the steering wheel. And then, like I said, there's a plethora of menus that you could go into to find out what's the diff temperature, what's your gearbox temperature. Because remember, from the factory, this car comes with a oil cooler, engine oil cooler, comes with a gearbox cooler, it comes with a differential cooler to help keep those temperatures down. Because remember, temperatures are what's gonna rob us of performance. And then just everything. Look, I don't know if Tom could bring back the camera onto the steering wheel. Here's where you could actually adjust the stiffness. Check out in the center there, Tom. Look at that. You go ahead and you could actually put it in normal or sport, depending on, maybe how bumpy of a track you are. Maybe you're at Sebring. You might want to keep it in normal. Or if you're at somewhere that's a little bit smoother, like maybe Barber Motorsports Park, that's a smoother track, you might want to put in sport. Also here, check it out with the different steering feel. So you got sport, you got comfort, and you got normal. It's things like that that you are getting some ways to adjust things inside the car. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about high performance. And that's what I love. All right, guys, it's been one hell of a day here at Walker Ford. I definitely want to give a big two thumbs up thank you. Very grateful for the owner because guess what? This one was already pre ordered months ago. So this one is sold and gone. But I want to give a big thumbs up to the owner, being an enthusiast, being a fan of Radi's Rides for allowing us access to bring this car to you because I'm telling you, Tom and I go to a lot of different events. First of all, you don't see many GT350Rs just laying around. Second of all, you don't see them in this sinister black. So very grateful for that. Also, big, huge thank you to Tracy, Benji, Greg, and everybody else here at Walker Ford for allowing full access to Raiti's Rides to bring you these really just amazing vehicles that are being produced today. At the end of the day, this car, it may not have 840 horsepower like a Dodge Demon. It may not, be supercharged like a ZR1 Corvette, but the way that this car is designed is for specific for you to take it to a track and turn in those blazing laps, consistent laps. Balance, that's what it's about. It's not about having a ton of horsepower and being out of control. This thing with that 5.2 liter V8, that Voodoo engine, 526 horsepower, the car weighs about 3,700 pounds. Perfect. That's what you want, that wonderful six-speed gearbox. Anyways, you could tell that I'm a big fan of this car because I won't stop gushing all about it. But if these are the types of cars you want to see on Radius Rides, leave a comment in the comment section. I know it is, but I want you to leave a comment anyways. If there's anything in particular you want to see on Radius Rides, leave a comment in the comment section. Check out my website, radiusrides.com, my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all Radius Rides, all original content, all the time. I'm going to see this car in my dreams tonight. I know it. So I'm glad that you watched. If you're a subscriber, thank you. If you have not hit that button yet, what do I need to do to get you to hit that button? I'm thinking if you could tell me what will it take, let me know. Please hit that subscribe button. I bring you the cars like this. I bring you the variety. There's a lot more. I want you to be part of this journey. I want to give a huge shout out to Tom, getting the great shots as usual. I really like to see you guys giving him some compliments because I'm telling you, he busts his butt. He's doing the business, and what an amazing car here. But anyways, I'll say it. Said it before. I'll say it again. I'll see you on the next ride.